What was the date?
It is Thursday, February 6th.
Thank you. What's up, everybody? This is Thursday, February 6th, the February Achilles Connect, the first Achilles Connect of 2025. Very excited. Today we're gonna chat. It's gonna be a coffee time with Achilles vibe. Very, very relaxed. We're just gonna talk about what's coming up, amplified workouts, races, conferences, opportunities, some cool new programs that might be launching. Which I am not allowed to give a ton of info about. Otherwise, my coworker, Catherine, who you all know from the Connect from last year, will get mad at me. But I can tease it a little bit. And just in general, talk about what's new with Achilles. Today, as the last few times, I'm joined by Chandler. What's up, Chandler? Are you on camera? Oh, you're not on camera. All right. Phantom voice of Chandler. Okay. First of all, I want to tell y'all very briefly, because it's something cool that I didn't realize. So maybe some of you will find it interesting. I didn't realize there were such things as conferences for runners, right? We all know marathon weekends, they have expos, but I've never heard of a conference for runners. And over the weekend, I had the opportunity to go to Running USA, which is a running conference meant for like race directors, everybody from New York road runners who took dozens of employees, all the way down to the East Atlanta, Georgia girls track club, which had one volunteer person there. So very wide range of people from the running industry, shirt vendors, timing vendors, like people who produce bibs, like just basically everything that it takes to produce a race. They were there. Achilles actually had a panel on how to make a race accessible. And it was pretty cool. It was my first time there. Again, didn't realize there were such things as conferences for runners. One of the highlights was because it's in Louisville, Kentucky. The intro, I guess, social kind of get to know everyone session was at the Muhammad Ali Center, which was cool because it was all the Muhammad Ali stuff, like talked about his fights. There was a fight simulator. I almost fought one of my coworkers. That was really fun because we do that all the time in the office, but it was the first time outside the office. So it was a good time. It was a good time. But look it up. Running USA, cool if you're into the race organizer, race production side of things. Okay, again, we're going to talk about upcoming races and stuff here in a second. But on the theme of conferences, just a little note. In July, Achilles will be at 3 conferences, most likely at 3 conferences. One of them we've been to for years now. It's called the National Federation of the Blind, National Convention. This year is in New Orleans, and that's sort of the weekish of July 4th. And it's the largest gathering of people who are blind and low vision, caregivers, parents, family, people like that. Second, there's the American Council of the Blind Convention, which will be held in Austin, Texas. And similar vibe, convention for caregivers and professionals and businesses trying to cater to people who are blind, low vision, that stuff. And third, it's called Disability In. That's going to be in Orlando, Florida. That is more of a business to business kind of, networking conference. A lot of disability employee resource groups from, corporations, companies, businesses, whatnot. They will be there. So that's more of a business leaning conference. But regardless, if any of you are aware of anyone, either your employer or your friends, or maybe yourself, will be at any of those 3 conferences, please let us know, because we'd love to connect, maybe set up some meetings, chat, maybe just have a little golf outing, as I don't know, is that what people do at B2B networking events? I tried golf once. I swung maybe 15 times and I hit the ball exactly 1 time. Epic hit, by the way, epic. It sent the ball many, many feet, like 7 feet. So, oh yeah, 7 feet. It like barely grazed the edge of the simulator. Because yes, it was a simulator. But yeah, cool. So those are the three conferences in July. Now let's talk about what's coming up with Achilles. So two categories we're going to talk about. One is amplified workouts, and then two are upcoming races. So the main amplified workout that's coming up soon is actually next weekend. It's our annual love run because of the nod to Valentine's Day. And so depending on which borough your workout is in, the amplified workout will be sort of on a different day. In Manhattan, it'll be Saturday, February 15th. Typically, Hector in Queens would have an amplified workout on Sunday, the 16th, but he's away actually, so he's going to do his the following week. But basically, this is our attempt. One, right? We all love each other, just like family. And so just kind of highlighting that at the workouts. Two, we're going to have some snacks, beverages, whatnot. Three, awesome time to bring a friend, right? Last year, we had a few bring a friend to Achilles days. Those actually worked really well because people brought their friends, especially athletes, brought other athletes. And we figured it'd be a lot more interesting to do that on days where we have a little bit more of a festive atmosphere, right? A little amplified experience. And so the first one of 2025 is the Valentine's Day themed one, the Love Run, February 15th. Bring a friend and introduce them to what you do, hopefully on a weekly basis, which is run or roll with Achilles. We have some sort of amplified workout basically every month. And so each month I'll, kind of talk through what we have coming up. March, there's a St. Patty's Day themed one. April, nah, we're open to a little voting or a little input here. It's either April Fool's themed or Tax Day themed. So we can take those two in very different directions based on what you guys think is interesting. April Fools, as the name suggests, we can have a little fun with, I don't know, an athlete showing up and telling their guide that they want to do 18 miles, or in reality they're only doing 4. I don't know. We can have fun with that. Obviously, tax day is tax day, and so I don't know. If you have any thoughts, send them in. But those are kind of the two that we're working with on April. May will be Mother's Day themed run, so just celebrating the moms out there. We all wouldn't be here without our moms. June, Hope and Possibility, right? We have the race Hope and Possibility, which we will talk about later, because I know very few people were able to register, myself included. But the weekend before Hope and Possibility, typically we have a Hope and Possibility themed workout, which is basically just, getting excitement for the run and sort of launching our race week things, our panel, our shakeout run, our, stuff like that. So that's the amplified workouts that we have coming up. Now let's turn to races. So wintertime, there were some races. They sold out very quickly. And so what we're going to try to do in this spring moving forwards is, yes, we will still do the big marquee, races that we all know and love, but we're also going to sprinkle in the smaller races that we have a lot more control over, therefore being able to register a lot more people with a lot more flexibility. And so just to highlight a few races that are coming up, first is the United NYC Half Marathon through Roadrunners. I know a lot of people are doing that. That one is, I'd say, our biggest one in March. There is that Shamrocks Shuffle 5K in Washington Heights. That one's also shut down. That one's also March. The first one where we're really trying to mobilize the community is the Heels on Wheels 5K. That's April 6th. And that we've done for the last, this will be our 3rd year doing it. And it's a great collaboration with Burke Rehab Hospital. We drive vans from Engineers Gate and from Queens. We drive athletes out there. We have a bunch of, trucks and vans and all that stuff, bringing equipment, hand cycles, racing wheelchairs, doing all that. So should be pretty good. What's up, Dolphin? Thank you for joining late. Got to gift you a watch to start on time. Yeah, so that's the Heels on Wheels Burke 5K. That's April. And the second one to call out in April is the indoor marathon relay, which is at the Armory track up in, I guess that's also Washington Heights. Up in Washington Heights. That's the one where it's a 200-meter track. We divide up into teams. Last year we had 4 teams. All of these, by the way, can they find them in the race calendar?
Yep.
Okay, all of that you can find on your race calendar, which is hosted in Rosterfy. And so that's how we will figure out, who's coming, who do you need to register, if you are a guide, which guides are available to guide, basically all that. So if you can sign up in the race calendar on Rosterfy, that would be epic. And then the final one that I should call out, let's say call out 2 more. The New York City Runs Brooklyn Half Marathon. We did that for the first time as a team last year. That one is on Sunday, April 27th, which is the day after the indoor marathon relay. But that half, we still, we have a little more control over it. Registration's still open. And so that one we're going to do. And then the 5-borough bike tour, which is very cool. I want a lot of people to do the 5-borough bike tour. That's May 4th. It is 45 miles, but it's very chill. People can ride their own pace. You ride with friends. It's less of a race, more just, a fun ride. Okay. Hope and possibility. That race sold out in about 2 hours, which was insane because I thought last year was a fast sellout. Last year, it took maybe 3 or 4 days. This year, literally, it was 2 hours, and we sold out a 10,000 person plus race, which great problem to have, right? Great problem that a lot of people want to come to a race. The downside is a lot of Achilles athletes and guides weren't able to register, again, including myself. And so we have entries that we can use to get Achilles athletes into that race. And so if you, as an Achilles athlete, want to do the Hope and Possibility race on June 29th, the 4-miler in Central Park, you got to email in. If you're an NYC athlete, email nyc@achillesinternational.org. If you are an athlete belonging to a different chapter, let your chapter leader know. And yeah, that's how we can get that going. If you're a guide and you're interested in guiding the race and you don't have an athlete yet, that's key, right? If you're a guide, you want to guide, but you don't have an athlete yet, sign up in Rosterfy under the race calendar for Hope and Possibility. And that's where we'll pull guides from. So if you want to guide, that's how you do it. If you have an athlete that you want to guide already, it's the same guide request process as any other Road Runners race. And if any questions about that, you can ask. We'll get into that. Okay. Next race that we should talk about is the New York City Marathon, which crazy. We're already talking about the New York City Marathon. It seems like just yesterday that we were crossing the finish line of that. But the NYC Marathon is happening, obviously. Again, the lottery or the drawing for the New York City Marathon will open on February 11th, which is Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday, February 11th, which is next week, Tuesday. So if you want to do the race, you need to enter that drawing. That goes for athletes. And if you're a guide if you want to run the race, either, both as a guide or just on your own, you have to enter the drawing. The only time I'll tell someone not to enter the drawing is if you are a guide and you only want to guide the race, meaning you're not interested in running on your own. You only want to do it if you're guiding. In that case, don't enter the drawing, because if you're selected for the drawing, you're getting a bid and they're going to charge you. So that's New York City Marathon. Again, a lot more things to discuss about that, but as of right now, the only step that you need to take is enter the drawing if you want to do the race. Another marathon that I'd like to highlight, or race weekend, let's say, is actually the week before New York City Marathon. It's the Marine Corps 10K marathon and 50K. And the reason I want to highlight that is maybe you don't want the craziness of New York City Marathon. Maybe you want to sign up for something where you have a much higher likelihood of getting in. Maybe you want to commit to something not 9 months in advance. So for all of those reasons, consider the Marine Corps Marathon. Achilles does have a presence there. Again, there is a 10K marathon and 50K all happening at the same time. So it's the same day, right? Unlike other races, for example, Chicago Marathon, they have a 5K technically, but the 5K is the day before, similar to the Boston Marathon. They have a 5K, it's the day before. So in this case, the Marine Corps, they're all three happening at once. I've done the 10K twice now, if not three times. Very cool course, very well organized race. And actually, the race director, Alex, of the Marine Corps Marathon, was on the panel at Running USA, and so we got to know him really well. Not, I know we already knew him really well, but we got to know him even better. Speaking on the panel together, just again talking about how to get more athletes involved with racing. So again, consider that the Marine Corps Marathon, because it's in DC, that's not on your NYC race calendar, but just keep it in mind. If you're interested in it, reach out, email in, and we can get you more info on that. What's up?
Which is, can you apply for the New York City Marathon to do it as an adaptive cyclist if you don't have prior experience?
Yes. So the question is if you can apply to the marathon if you don't have prior experience. So the way you do this is it's all on nyrr.org, right? NewYorkRoadRunners.org. The drawing will basically ask you to confirm your personal information. It does not ask for any sort of qualifying time or experience or anything like that. So yes, basically, yes, you can sign up regardless of how much experience you have. I would suggest that when, again, this is kind of a, do as I say, not as I do thing, because when I joined Achilles back in 2017, I signed up for the marathon before I found out how many miles it was. And that was just because everyone around me was talking about marathon. And I'm like, I don't want to be left out. I'll sign up for the marathon. 3 weeks later, I'm like, wait a second, why are you doing 20-mile long run? Like, you're doing the marathon. Why are you doing 20 miles? That's crazy distance. They're like, well, actually, the marathon is 26 miles. And I was quite surprised. So I say that. Just make sure you know what you're getting into. If you want to talk training, reach out. Cool. Any other questions?
Yep.
All right. Next thing, we have a new app, which is very exciting. It's been in the works for years, but it's the Rosterfy app. And a few cool things about the Rosterfy app. From an accessibility standpoint, right? Having something in app form is typically more accessible than having things on mobile web browser. And that's because, the elements, the different icons, the features, whatnot, is laid out in typically a much more accessible way. For example, if you shop it on Amazon, the Amazon app on iPhone, a lot better than going to Amazon.com on Safari on your iPhone, right? So what the Rosterfy app does is that for someone using assistive technology, it streamlines the process for you to sign up for workouts and check in and out and all that a lot better than trying to do it on mobile web browser. If you don't use assistive technology, it's still cool because, again, it's an app form. It allows you to do all the things that you normally would do on Rosterfy a lot easier, a lot faster. And the cool new thing with the Rosterfy app is you can actually check yourself in. So, for example, right now, if you show up to a Central Park workout, you have to go talk to someone with an iPad. They have to check you in. Then they tell you who you're paired with. You don't have to do that anymore because now, as long as you are within that area and it's 15, I think, minutes before the workout starts, you're actually able to check yourself in on your dashboard in the app. And that's cool because, one, now we don't have 120 people, funneled into one or two iPad people. Two, you're able to check in earlier when you show up. And three, it's very seamless because you already have your phone out. So then you can flip over to your texts and see who you're paired with. And so, again, we're rolling it out. It's new. There'll probably be bugs. That's totally fine. We're going to figure it out together. But I encourage everyone to go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, download the Rosterfy app. Again, it's not called Achilles, it's called Rosterfy app. And log in with your Rosterfy account, bump around a little bit, let us know what you think. Yeah. Oh, I thought you were gonna say something. Okay, and then
Well, actually, I have a comment, which is that apparently the Green Ford 10K is.
really? All right. Who said that?
Okay. Stephanie says they're not having a 10K, so I Googled it. It says it only has a place for you to register for a virtual 10K. You can't register for it.
I don't think because it has opened yet.
How do they have virtual then?
I don't know.
Allegedly,
The Marine Corps 10K is virtual this year. I am 97.4% sure that that's just because the registration has not opened yet. Check back with us again. I'm pretty sure Alex would have like nudged me on the stage on the panel, been like, hey, by the way, we're not having an in-person 10K this year. But stay tuned. By the way, one thing I forgot to mention, we also met the woman who is the race director for the Army 10 miler, which is also in DC about 3 weeks before the Marine Corps marathon series. And so we might actually do some sandbox playing with the Army 10 miler, which then opens the door to, for those who don't know, there is something called the 6-race Armed Forces Challenge or something along those lines, where it's basically each branch of the military has their version of an endurance race. And if you do all 6, because newsflash, I don't know, for those who don't know, there is now a Space Force, which I forgot about. But so if you do all 6 events, you get what is described to me as a very legendary medal commemorating all 6. So it's sort of their nod to the 6 majors and you getting the 6-pointed star thing right after you do the 6 majors. There's the Air Force Marathon, Coast Guard Marathon, Marine Corps 10K Marathon or 50K, Navy. It's not a marathon. It's a different distance, I think, for the Navy. Space Force, also different distance. So, yeah, just as a FYI. Yes.
Can Rosterfy allow last minute signups for guides, even if they're not promised assignment to an athlete?
No. So we have to, the reason why we close the registration for workouts is, as I'm sure all of you know, we have to do the guide pairings, right? The athlete and guide pairings. The only way to sort of lock that in and to then control the flow is for us to close it a certain enough time in advance for us to be able to now export that, pair everyone up, which can take a couple hours, import it back in. We don't want to turn away anyone, athlete or guide, who misses the sign up, which is why, please email or get in touch if you do miss that. But we have to close it at some point. It used to be 48 hours, and now it's about 20 hours before the workout that it has to close. So, yeah.
The guide request process has changed, so there's a new form.
Yes. So the form, so for road runners, if you're trying to request a guide, it's accessible-ish. And meaning it's like if you're really tech forward, you'll have no problem with it if you're using assistive technology. If you're not, you might have a little trouble. So you can still technically email guide requests at nyrr.org, which is the old way to request guides. You can still technically do that if you're having trouble with the form. But yes, there is a new form that we are helping to test now. And it's basically a form that asks you what race you want to do, how many guides you want, what are their contact information. It's the same thing that you would email in, just in format. That is valid for the weekly races. The New York City Marathon, NYC Half, and Brooklyn Half, those are separate from that new form. Those are their standalone forms.
And then can you reiterate the email address for people to request getting into Brooklyn Possibility?
NYC at AchillesInternational.org, which is your one-stop shop for fun one-liners and all the different things you'd want from your Achilles community. Anything you want from Achilles, basically, just file it to NYC at AchillesInternational.org if you are an athlete in New York City. If you're not, Yeah. I hear she is fantastically equipped to handle all needs, one-liners included. If you're not in New York City, what are you doing? You should move to New York so that you can then use that inbox. Okay, and then the last thing I have on here to talk to you about is the thing that I'm not allowed to talk a lot about, otherwise Catherine will get mad at me. But the down low is we are launching a scholarship program, application thing, whatever we're calling it. Again, details on that will come out in a couple weeks. The reason why I'm priming all of you on it now, and it's it's been in the works for the last few months, but you should start thinking about if there are races that you want to do where the financial barrier has been, to double use a word, has been a barrier to your participation. We're talking, right? We know Achilles has this marathon tour. If it's a marathon tour event that you wanted to do, if it's whatever, just start, next time you're in the bathtub and you're having a good think, just think about what races that you think you would want to do that would be extra impactful, and who you would want to do it with. If there's a guide that maybe you've been training with for a while and you think it'd be cool for both of you to go do whatever, Chicago Marathon, for example, just think about it. You'll hear more from Catherine and from headquarters in the next couple of weeks. That's the main situation.
General questions for you.
Let's do it.
Will the guide request form be available on our website?
On the Achilles website?
Yeah.
No, so the guide request form, the way you find it is basically any race that you would want to sign up for on the Roadrunners website. On each race page, there is a link to the guide request form. And again, if you have any trouble with the form, you can just email the same email you've always used for guide requests, which is guiderequests@nyr.org.
Okay. The question is, how many shifts do you have to complete to be an active member and sign up to guide?
Technically, you can sign up to guide anytime. It's just so, let me see if I get this right. The race calendar is a shift in Rosterfy, right?
Yeah.
And so if you find the race calendar, which we're going to actually make it a lot easier to find the race calendar here in a bit, basically make it its own like tab menu item. But regardless, either way, if you just go on the race calendar, you see all the races if you're a guide. And I would just check off the ones that you're willing to guide. And obviously, ideally, you're an active member, so that when we're going through and trying to find a guide for an athlete, we know who that is, and we know you're a solid person. But technically, no, there's no requirement to sign up to guide.
Can you speak to a new athlete about what participation would look like for a paraplegic, specifically us providing bikes?
Providing what's bikes?
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So we're fortunate in New York City. Just for some background, a couple years ago, we became the adaptive cycling partner for Lyft/City Bike. And so that means we're lucky that we have a good amount of equipment. We can transport that equipment to most, if not all, of the events that we do. And so for any sort of equipment needs, whether at a workout or at a race, best way is, one, you got to know which equipment works best with you, right? And so the best way that we can figure that out is for you to show up to a workout. Ideally, if you could pick any workout, I'd say either the Saturday morning Central Park one or the Sunday in Queens, just because it's the morning workout. So we have a bunch of extra time to fit people to bikes, versus if you show up, Tuesday evening, Thursday evening, whatever, we're kind of battling daylight. So it's a little harder to do that. But regardless, if you have to show up on an evening, that's totally fine. Let's fit you to a bike first. You'll meet Dominic and Hector, who are two adaptive cycling dudes. And we'll go from there. But yeah, transporting equipment, no problem. Providing equipment, no problem.
Is the Saturday morning workout in Central Park a good one to ease into guiding? Does everyone run, or are there also walkers?
Yeah, I would say about 25% of our athletes walk, and then another 25% do some sort of combination of run walk. And then the rest run anywhere from 13, 14-minute pace all the way down to 6-minute pace. So very wide range of abilities and speeds show up to the workout. Honestly, any workout is good. It's very chill. I don't know if you've ever been to an Achilles workout. It's a very chill environment. We're typically not very high strung. And so I wouldn't worry about like, oh, you're going to be thrown into the deep end, especially if it's your first time. You'll do a guide training. You'll learn. If you come to Central Park, you'll meet me, which is probably the worst part of showing up to Central Park. But I'll tell you all about how to guide someone who's blind and low vision, which again, the context with that is I think that again, all athletes are different, everyone's needs are different, but typically guiding someone who's totally blind tends to be the highest cognitive load guiding experience, which is why we do that during our guide training. But we'll go over basically how to guide, a wide range of disabilities. And then once you're trained, then you're free to sign up for any of our future workouts.
Dolphins to know if to
Dolphin, man after my heart. The answer is yes. Did you? Oh no, we didn't know the bird. I think it was the Reuben run. Yes, it was the Reuben run where it was I think it's a 5K. It was in New Jersey. And on the way back, we stopped by the Pancake House. And oh my goodness, I didn't realize that Dolphin can put away so many pancakes. There's a photo from that where it's just me and Dolphin just reclined at our chairs at the table. There were like 30, 35 athletes all around this table. And there were many plates of empty, formerly pancaked plates strewn across the table in front of us. So yeah, if pancakes is what motivates any one of you to do a race with Achilles, the Reuben run might be on your radar or should be. We should actually, yeah, we'll look into that because the Reuben run right now is not on the race calendar, but so we'll lock that in. Speaking of Dolphin, actually, that actually reminded me, we, for the first time since COVID, now have a weekly swim workout, thanks to Chandler. And so, stop it, go on, say more. It is at Lehman College, which is in Bedford Park in the Bronx. It's on Thursdays, and it's cool because before COVID, before Achilles had a partnership with Lehman, I actually swam there at least 3-4 times a week for about 2 years when I would actually train for things. And so being there last Thursday brought back a bunch of memories of swimming there. And we're going to go again tonight and every Thursday night. So if you're interested in triathlon, talk to Chandler. What else we got? All right. Let me think. Let me rack my brain. It's been unseasonably cold. I took a little bit of time to go skiing a few weeks ago, and I was waking up and I'm like, it's like 0 degrees, 2 degrees, whatever. Wow, it must be so much warmer in New York City. And I flip over my app to New York City, and New York's like, yeah, it's like 5 degrees, 6 degrees, 7 degrees. I'm like, oh wow, it's actually not warmer in New York City. So yeah, apparently right before we jumped on, they announced a storm watch or snow watch or whatever for the Upper West Side. So yeah, stay safe, stay warm. We're gonna hit this up again in March, first Thursday, most likely. Keep your eyes on your inbox. If you have any questions, again, if you want to, yeah, what's up? 7 to 9. You gotta let us know before you show up. But yeah, 7 to 9.
And we have to know.
We have to know. Yes. If you did not get into Hope and Possibility, and if you're an athlete, email us. If you want to do the New York City Marathon, get in the drawing. It opens February 11th. If you know anyone doing those 3 conferences in July, National Federation of the Blind, American Council of the Blind, Disability In, please let us know. And if there are any local races, neighborhood 5Ks, even in Long Island, New Jersey, Westchester, somewhere within driving distance, if there's some athletic event that you think would be very cool for Achilles to do, also let us know, because we're looking to sort of fill out our race calendar for 2025. And we have a few gaps right now. And obviously, if we can get races that all of y'all are interested in, that's preferred. So otherwise, I'm going to pick some, I don't know, some boring race that I can't list right now. Way more enjoyable to hit up, as Dolphin suggested, the Reuben Run with the Pancake House as a post-race celebration. So that's about it. I will see y'all when I see you all. Later.